Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Gyle here, and welcome back to another Supreme Commander epic. And many of you will have already noticed some things are missed. The title has disappeared from all of the scenes I've set up in XSplit. I don't know whether it recently got updated or something. The annoying part is I actually don't have time to look into it. I've got an epic to bring you. It's going to be at least an hour long, and if a little over an hour, I've got to go pick up potential stepkids, so there will be children sitting on a school step crying while you guys are entertained, hopefully, if I don't get a move on. So literally no chances for do-overs on this one. If it sucks, I'm sorry, that's all you're getting. Anyway, today's epic is coming to you proudly sponsored by the map Hilly Plateau. So let's go over to the game zone and see how these guys are going to get on. So, more so important than ever, since you didn't get your little scrolling title there at the beginning, is the player sheet. Let's bring that up there. Taking a look up here at the top for Team 1 is Petrick Pawns. He's going Cybrin Electric Blue opening first land. Secondly, for Team 1 below him, my good friend Chosen in his ever so important Regal Purple he seems to favour these days. And Aeon as well, also opening first land. To his right, and thirdly for Team 1, my good friend GFY's Depony. He's going UEF in Elephantine Grey, opening first land. And last and never least, it's good old-fashioned Kircher over here in Ferrari Red, going Cybrin, opening first land. I'll get him in shot one day. So that's Team 1 up here at the top. Team 2 down at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. We've got Le Pen. He's going Cybrin in Pontiff White, opening first land. Secondly, we saw him yesterday, vanquished Chosen. Was it yesterday's game? I think it was. Yeah, it was, on the Dark Heart. That's right. Smith versus Chosen. And he's going Mellow Yellow today, going Cybrin, opening first land. And thirdly, for Team 1, next to him in Hallyborange Orange, going UEF, it's BC's Lextok. And lastly, and never least, it's Laneless, going Baby Blue Aeon, opening first land. So those are the players, and that's where they're situated. We could probably afford to bump this to +2. Secretly wanting to bump this to +4, just so I don't end up being done for child abuse. I'm just terrified about this. I'm pretty sure I've got time. I'm looking at my watch. I'm pretty sure I've got time, but we'll see. If this doesn't get uploaded, I may just be talking to myself right now, but it's all good. Anyway, Team 1 on the move here at the 2-minute mark. Chosen and Depony moving their ACUs forward. How does that coincide? Well, Team 1 a little bit behind Team 2. Both Smith and Lextok a little bit closer to the middle. It's one of those maps where the middle doesn't give you any really significant resource advantage. You're basically talking about 2, potentially 3 mechs advantage. If you grab the middle, you might be able to shut down your opponent's extra mechs here, maybe put pressure on these cornered ones here, but it's not going to give you a vast income compared to your opponents if you manage to bag it. But what it does do is it allows you freedom of movement, and it does allow you to more easily put pressure on the extremities of the map. If you can grab the middle and corner your opponents in down here or up here, you're standing a substantially better chance of gaining overall map control. Anyway, Lextok going for an upgrade on his comm. Laneless joins them in the middle. Mr. Smith adding a little bit of assistance there, and Laneless as well, wanting to get that as quickly as possible. Le Pen shows up as well. How does that match up against Team 2? Kircher finally on the move. Not seeing... there's Petrick, who's changed his name to Badass Pro. So it is party in the middle, all ACUs invited. But for the moment, it looks like Team 2 might have more in the area. Coacher lagging a little bit behind. Depony finishes that upgrade, so it looks like we've got an upgrade apiece. Lextok immediately starts construction of a triad, so it was the T2 engineering suite for both of these guys. Depony starting a triad a little bit further back here. Le Pen walking up to assist that. To get that done, it's going to be very interesting to see how this works out. 5 minutes gone, and the triads begin firing. Going to open up on each other. Chosen bearing the brunt of Team 2's fire at the moment. Conversely, Mr. Smith's eating fire from Depony's triad. Petrick backs up slightly, helps Depony with the construction of that other triad. few Lobos darting around in the middle. Meanwhile, at the extremities over in the east, Le Pen has been pushing pretty hard against Kircher. Not a great deal happening over in the west. Laneless looking like he's got the advantage, though. He's also pushed up that way with his ACU. He's got more on the ground than Petrick spam-wise. He's also got his ACU, and there's very little up here for Team 1 to be able to defend with. Petrick's in the middle, helping fight off this attack from Le Pen, Lextock, and Smith. But Petrick's already taken quite a beating from those early triads, down to around 4,500 hit points so far. In comes a small wave of Mantis, though, from Smith. Helps obliterate one of those triads. So far, things not looking great in the middle for Team 1, as Lextock completes another point defense. And I think that is going to be a hold, potentially, for Team 2. Meanwhile, Laneless being very aggressive up here at the northwestern edge of the map, cutting off Petrick from these outlying two mexes. One engineer over here trying to erect some defense there, one single auto gun being placed. A little bit of a run by here over in the east. Meanwhile, Le Pen takes down a mex and then starts focusing on that factory. I don't know if he's going to be lucky enough to finish that off. Chapodi turns up with a very harshly wounded engineer and starts reclaiming some of the NGs. I like what I see there. But look at this. Team 1 definitely yielding control of the middle to Team 2. Le Pen throwing an upgrade on his comm there. We've got some T2 radar getting thrown up in the middle. That's going to afford Team 2 some pretty excellent intel. It's right in the center of the map there. Now look at that. Suddenly they're aware of everything. How does that stack up to Team 1? It's a very different picture. It's still acceptable, though, thanks to these T1s dotted around the place. Coach has got a T1 down there. Chosen's got a T1 on this little plateau up here. It's giving them what they need for the moment. Definitely not quite as comprehensive, though. It doesn't go as deep into enemy territory as that one in the middle for Team 2. Petrick begins to build up troops in this little valley over here. Chosen doing the same one valley over, and runs into a whole load of Lextock's build capacity on a reclaim mission. Brushes those aside, and it's a little bit of Aurora on Aurora action between Chosen and Laneless. Those armies back out, either wanting to commit to that one so far. Chosen and Kircher posturing if they can knock aside this little manufacturing facility, take down some of these auto guns. That will leave this corner vulnerable to attack, and Team 1 could definitely do with something to lift their spirits a little bit. Kircher could potentially send a few units down here for a run-by. That opportunity might have passed, though. There's an auto gun on the way there from Le Pen. Petrick sliding left in the face of Laneless and Lextock's forces, and Team 2 is just a tongue-twisting amalgamation of L's. Laneless, Lextock, and Le Pen. Many of you will know I'm a fan of alliteration, but there comes a point when enough is enough. Depony going crazy with the wall sections here. Multiple tiers, multiple rows of wall sections, all designed to cut down their opponent's movement. Attack missiles being launched by Team 2, going straight after that forward T2 mechs there from Chosen. Thankfully he's got a volcano in place. Countermeasures knocking aside that threat without any trouble whatsoever. The odd bomber out from Le Pen, circling over Chose's troops. Quite interesting. Chose's got a few troops down here. He's even got an Obsidian in amongst that little merry band of Auroras. What he really needs is a fervor, though, as he comes into contact with that auto gun. It's going to start shredding those T1 units. And Le Pen comes in with a home guard of replicators to repel the Obsidian. But it's a nice move, that, from Deponi. It does stop any potential reinforcements from the middle, being as they've yielded control of the middle to Team 2. It does stop any potential reinforcements from either Smith or Lexstock, saying there was an army here coming that way to immediately assist Le Pen. Likewise, if they decide to make a push, Le Pen's going to have a little bit of an impediment getting his own forces over there should he decide to take that route. But Le Pen getting very cheeky here with a bit of a point defense creep on. A whole bunch of Cerberus in place already and continues to press. Another one about to be placed. I think this is going to be the end of this little manufacturing facility here for Kircher. Down goes the autogun, the radar. And thankfully that's not Kircher's T2 headquarters. That's just a forward T2 land factory. We won't lose the ability to produce T2 land units at the moment, but we've got some Titans on the field for Deponi, so he's reached T3 land. So got Coach's ACU there, but a nice, what was that? Look at artillery piece. There we go. It's a demolisher there from Deponi, landing a decent shell right in amongst those units there for Le Pen. Petrick and Chosen doing a reasonable job at holding back Laneless. Give you an idea how things look. Bring up the team colours. Blue and green symbolise Team 2. Red is Team 1. I think you can see it's a more or less, it's about 55% to 45% map control wise, so it's not going terribly for Team 1 at the moment, despite losing the middle. But a nice little push over here from Laneless. A little band of troops happily equipped with fervors. Brushes aside that autocannon and also takes that fringe T1 mechs in the process before backing up, wanting to overextend. He's just going to continue to skirmish, pick off resourcing options as and where he can. But that Cerberus point defense creep we saw enacted a little bit earlier from Le Pen has been stopped, has been ceased thanks to the ranged capabilities, and quite a few units have been transferred over from Deponi to Kircher's control to help Kircher hold this area. Nice to see the teamwork there, even if it does mean precious, beautiful, stalwart, attractive UEF units under Cybran control. I can forego it for one game, my natural need to vomit. Joke. It's all good. Nothing wrong with Cybrans, apart from the smell. But otherwise, a bit of a static phase appearing now between these teams. Let's take a look at Eco. Smith out front temporarily, or for the moment, on 161 mass. Laneless running second on round 147. Looked 152 a minute ago. And then Petrick not far behind, 141, and Chosen on 115. Everybody else yet to break 100. Deponi and Kircher short stacking on both score and eco at the moment, lagging behind the rest of the field. They're going to need to pick that up. They don't want to get left behind in this one, but the two leaders, Laneless and Smith, gives you an idea of where things are going. Team 2 ecoing just a little bit better at the moment than Team 1. Kircher with his newfound strength and gifted units trying his hand at a little bit of a push here. It's going to get stopped at this confluence of valleys here. And Le Pen is busy erecting some static D. He's also got a large number of Mantis and the odd T1 unit, T2 unit in there as well. A couple of Vipers in play for Kircher, brushing aside, or trying to brush aside, some of the random static D having a great success though, targeting wall sections instead. Some bricks out in the western edge of the map from Smith, and they're just slaughtering all this T1 belonging to Petrick. They're backing up, but I think they could safely advance against that. There's nothing really to frighten them there. Might potentially be afraid of the air threat. We haven't seen a great deal of air-to-ground yet, but air-wise seems to be building heavily at the moment for Laneless. He's got a few restorers in the middle of the field there. Otherwise, everybody seems to be stacking T1 inties. We're not seeing hordes of T2 gunships or anything like that. And it doesn't look like anyone's planning any cheeky, snipey tactics, at least not at the moment. 21 minutes gone in this game so far. And look at this. Laneless bursting through the defenses at the western edge of the map, backed up by a few bricks over here. Chosen is redirecting his forces, trying to shut them off from an entrance into the back of Team 1's base. It's a decent bunch of build capacity down here from Petrick. He's going to probably want to think about extending these defenses up to the top of the map if he wants to halt the progression of this, but there's a lot of tech in here, some decent amounts of T2. There's a brick in the center and 3 bricks coming up behind as well for Smith. Petrick's going to have to back up out of there ASAP, but meanwhile in the middle, Laneless on the move with what is rapidly becoming a marauding ball of restorers. 22 minutes, you can bet they can do a lot of damage, and the fact that they're so mobile, of course, threatens all of Team 1's outer-lying resourcing options, and that's what he's going for at the moment. Petrick is trying to deal with the situation by hastily getting an air force together. He's going to have to rely on Chosen predominantly for defense back here to stop Team 2 from breaking in any further. But these days, handful of ASFs against that many restorers don't cuss the mustard. Cuss the mustard? Shouldn't cuss mustard. Very, very sensitive feelings. Doesn't cut the mustard. Strange, strange saying that is. So Restorer is able to operate with near-on impunity at the moment. Chosen and Petrick have done a pretty nice job of repelling the ground forces up until now. It's going to be extra difficult with these restorers hovering above those ground forces. All of that extra damage that's going to be piled on. Some bricks out for Petrick, but now they're falling foul to that restorable. I think they've got enough to deal with it. They should be able to repel this. Look at the fortification that Lexstock's got going on in the center, though. Tons of Ravagers being thrown together. It's the one place on the map you really want them. You can bet it's the first place Experimentals will be moving for Team 1, but Team 2 has beaten them to it. There's already a megalith on the board for Smith, making his way across the map. And that could spell trouble for Team 1. Chosen is hastily building a GC. That's got about 91,000 hit points completed, so that's going to be done soon enough. Deponi also nearly complete on a Fat Boy. Monkey Lord coming up to half done for Chosen. Not Chosen, sorry. Talking rubbish for Kircher. This is what happens when you don't get to do do-overs. Badass Pro / Petrick working on a Soul Ripper at the back there, so it really has burst into the T4 phase suddenly. Experimental tech being built all over for Team 1. Let's have a look at Team 2. What have we got down here? A lot of strap bombers queuing up there for Laneless. Soul Ripper under construction for Smith. Fat Boy under construction for Lexstock. and a nuke launcher already in play for Laneless, and there's a lot of build capacity devoted to that, so he's looking to get one of those operational as quickly as possible. Be interesting to see if Team 1 managed to scout that in time. And Mr. Smith is announcing to his teammates that he's going to go telemaser after he's completed his Soul Ripper. So Mr. Smith looking to go for a snipe here at, well, not at 27 minutes, but he's talking about preparing for one at 27 minutes. But that megalith that was completed earlier on for Smith, just kind of holding steady in the middle there. Smith deciding not to rush in and try and beat the rush for T3. I think that's probably a pretty good decision. There's a lot of stuff on the ground here, and they will have been scouting. Had they not seen all of the experimentals on the way, he probably would have gone in and tried to beat them to it. But they don't want to just send in free mass deliveries if they can avoid it. That ball of restorers looking incredibly nasty. Although it's being reinforced at a slower rate than it was earlier. Focus very much on that nuke at the moment, which is already about 60 to 65% done, I'd say. Soul Ripper online for Smith. There's some pinging going down on top of Laneless's strat bombers, presumably from Petrick. He's been sending a few spy planes over there, getting a scout on. Spam flak fast, he says. Taking a look at eco on the side of things now. Laneless running 235. Mr. Smith running 207. That suddenly drops to 186. We've got Mr. Smith having power troubles, but he seems to be around the 195 mark. 190 for Lexdoc, 193 for Le Pen. So definitely Team 2 riding the economic advantage at the moment. That's Soul Ripper moving forward. Just test the water there from Smith, but a lot of ascendants riding out front there for Chosen, and Petrick thinks about coming in for a pass. I think he probably could have committed to that. He was concerned about the amount of flayers in there, the UEF T3 SAM launchers that Lexdoc's been throwing together in that firebase. He didn't want to expose his ball of ASFs to too much danger, especially not with the amount of restorers they've been seeing earlier on in this game. I can totally understand that. Maybe he's perhaps thinking he'd like to get that Soul Ripper in friendlier turf so they can have a pop at the reclaim option when it gets shot down. They don't want to just hand it straight back to their opponents. But Soul Ripper in play at the back there for Petrick. Pony and Kircher working on. Kircher upgrading his comm.
Strategic launch detected.
And there's the nuke. Question is, where's it going? It's going straight for Chosen's base. Chosen on the move. Pretty certain that it's probably coming his way. He has got anti-nuke, but it doesn't have a nuclear missile, or nuclear anti-missile, I should say, loaded. It's half done, and there it goes, and that's really going to put a dent in Team 1's economy. Chosen dropping from 180 odd mass to 80 mass, 100 mass per tick wiped out of Team 1's eco there. Absolutely brutal nuke. Nice play there from Laneless. Chosen now sets about the task of rebuilding. Wisely decided to move his comm there. It's always a good idea anyway. When you hear that sound go off, just move your comm. It's a message to all of you newbies or average Joes out there. Just move your comm. Even if you think it might be your teammate, move your comm. The amount of time, especially in this game, never quite sure what your teammates are thinking. But still, the commitment to the nuclear missile continues, and he's going to have another one soon at this rate. Laneless already 60% done again on that second missile. How are we doing for nuke defense? There is a Guardian back here for Petrick, still not loaded, however. And there is a nuke eliminator there for Depony, also not loaded. So Team 1 wide open for nuclear attack at the moment. Kocho on another upgrade. What's he got going on here? So he's got T3 engineering suite. He's got the microwave. So interesting, we had Smith talking about a telemaser. Kocho going tele as well, as Laneless talks about it in local chat, so they're all aware of it. And you can see, just to make certain, Mr. Smith has got a whole bank of auto guns there ready for such an eventuality. And Laneless is now doing the same. He's throwing eruptors up all around him. There's a bit of pinging going on. That'll be Team 1 having gone for the scout, probably Petrick. How about Le Pen? He's building point defense. Everybody basically is building point defense. And the fourth com, Lexstock in the middle, equipped with very chunky ACU indeed. Lots of HP on there. Personal shield gen and everything. And of course, a ton of Ravagers. So really, there is no easy target for Kocher to waltz in and go for. Pony's saying, let's go for a Scathis. Very interesting to see where this goes at this point. Question is, will Smith decide to use his? Has he got his? He was talking about it earlier. He's got his T3, he's got his teleporter, and he's got the laser ready to go. Coach now saying let's go Scathis as well, so I think we're going to have a commitment to some artillery play from Team 1. Major wall sections going up for Petrick, sealing off this entire area of the map. But a pretty darn cagey period now lying ahead. Neither team committing to much. How long on that nuke? There is now one in the clip, so Laneless ready to fire at any time. He's stockpiling strap bombers at the moment. Mr. Smith spewing out experimentals as fast as he possibly can. A little bit of scouting going on there from Mr. Smith, but this looks like an advance potentially from Team 1. Petrick and Chosen blowing sections of wall up in their own line. Decide to advance a little bit. But Laneless still holding fast in his top left corner. That's a lot of ASFs on the field for Petrick. Let's have a look at how many he's sitting on. 136 for Petrick at the moment. Laneless, conversely, seems to be the main air player for Team 2, sitting on just 24. But he does have 35 restorers, which represents major air punching power, as I'm sure you're aware. And 12 strap bombers as well, which could really make a mess of your comm if he can get it through on some kind of line. There's the Scathis that's been started up here by Kocher. Pony now assisting it as well. Spy planes coming in. The question is, have they seen it? They could easily see it if they're paying attention. Continuous spy planes coming in from several directions. A little bit of pinging going down on some spider bots, but it's not really of a concern when you're looking at the scatters. There we go. That's what you need to be concerned about if you're on the Team 2. And look at this, a wave of strat bombers coming in for Laneless. Not going to get anywhere near anything as Petrick, quick on the button, comes in to intercept. Also, a ton of skyboxers camping out there outside Depony's base. Just going to shred all those strats. So Laneless had an attempt there. What was he going after is the question. Depony's comms way back here. Been going for a fat boy maybe. Yeah, strange decision there. Not exactly sure what the target was. That's Scathis now over 25% complete. They will finish Scathis, says Laneless, and Team 2's response to that is to go Scathis as well. So we're going to get a little bit of an arty war here. Both teams failing to take out the other in time to stop the game progressing to an arty trade-off stage. Soul Ripper out for Petrick though, getting some good work done now that Petrick feels he gained some ground in the air, but has he just had to abandon that Soul Ripper? Maybe not. Lots of back and forth play. Perhaps trying to bait Le Pen out slightly. He's definitely got the advantage in terms of ASF numbers, no question about it. Laneless brings out his ball of restorers though to assist. And it looks like Team 2 could now be considering the first major experimental push. 2 crabs from Smith, 1 from Le Pen, Fat Boy from Lexstock, and also a Soul Ripper back here from Smith, and a ball of restorers there from Laneless. That's quite the nasty army they've got going on there. That's Scathis up to 12,000 hit points complete there for Team 2, and just gone 13,000 for Team 1. So it's going to be close who finishes first. Certainly Team 2's is coming along quicker, having started it much later. But the Fat Boys from Depony opening up on some forward demolishes there from Lexstock. And now we're going to have to keep a close eye on these crabs as they round the forward plateau. GC in place for Chosen to put some fire on them, and also a Soul Ripper there from Petrick just pummeling away. But a wave of ASFs come in from Le Pen. Petrick counters with his own, and it's just suddenly a complete mess. Petrick's Soul Ripper down to 32,000 HP, but one of the crabs already taken out of commission. There's a lot of fire coming out of Team 1's base. March of the Bricks, meanwhile, is on from Mr. Smith, also trying to make an entrance with standard T3 bots. There are quite a few Percivals roaming around from Depony as well. The coach are going to park a Monkey Lord right in front of those bricks as they come over the brow of the hill and just zap them with his laser. Some outrageous screenshot potential coming from this particular location. One of the crabs down, leaving only one more. Soul Ripper gets shot down from Smith, and finally the last crab succumbs to fire as well. I can't believe how well Team 1 just repelled that attack. Depony lost both his Fat Boys in the process, but that's a small price to pay to keep all of that out of your base. Le Pen continues to press for the Monkey Lord. Chosen trying to assist with some asylums there, but it's not going to be enough. Coach's Monkey Lord that took out so many bricks there finally bites the dust. So it looks like there might be a little bit of experimental damage taken here into Pony's base as Le Pen continues to push, but the Ravagers open up from back here. Chosen's been spam building them as well. And that is threat removed. I cannot believe it. Meanwhile, the Scathis is now online for Team 1. The Scathis is online for Team 2, so the RT trade-off begins. And you can see the cross-map fire going on as we speak. Let's take a look at where these guys are positioned and the range. So, Lexstock's firebase well in range there from Team 1, but not much else. The main base very much safe for the moment. They're going to have to get some shielding out around here somewhere if they want to be able to use this effectively. Conversely, looking at Mr. Smith's
Strategic launch detected.
Scathis, that reaches a little bit closer. Still not quite into the bowels of Team 1's base though, but another nuke launched from Laneless. Where's it going, and do Team 1 finally have nuke defense? That's the question. I must have got taken out in that last attack. Depony's rebuilding another one, but that's too late. Oh, this could be painful as the nuke comes in. And Unreal, Petrick's Guardian from way back here, somehow just in range, protecting both Depony and Kircher. That's so close, just a snifter to the south. And that would have made it in, no question. Meanwhile, Le Pen continues to push, trying to find some kind of gap. Bunch of bricks making it to the foot of Kircher's base, and Scathis in uncomfortable proximity to them, it has to be said, but he's going to make it back inside Depony's shield. One hero brick standing his ground out front from Kircher there. He'll pay for it with his life. Pinging going on Team 1's anti-nuke. But look at that, certainly it's taken its toll. But look at the experimentals lining on the front, and actually you've got a support commander out front from Chosen who's trying to reclaim, so is Petrick. But I think that must be ground fire going after this area of the map. And that strategic missile defense does get taken out. I think that was a support commander that went pop right by it. But really nice targeting from the Scathis from Team 2, knocking out a bunch of those wrecks and cutting down any potential advantage Team 1 could glean from that last attack and the fact that they held it off. But crazy story. You can see Team 1's operational zone, their control cut down a great deal. It's a strip of no man's land in the middle.
Strategic launch detected.
Team 2 looking like they've got more of the game board, but another nuke out of that very same launcher from Laneless. Where's it going? They've taken out Kircher's Guardian, but if he goes in on the same trajectory and he thought it was Kircher's that shot it down, it wasn't. It was Petrick's, and that's got a new missile in the clip. If that follows the same trajectory, looks like it might. It needs to drop in here. Denied! Unreal. Absolutely unreal. That would really annoy me if I was Laneless, truth be told. But a GC from him marching in. There may be some payoff for him yet. But now Chosen with some restorers of his own and some bricks marching forward from Petrick. Means that Laneless not going to get anywhere with that. There's also a Soul Ripper back here as well. Just doesn't want to leave GC wreck on Petric's doorstep to reclaim. Be interesting to hear your thoughts, guys. What would you all think of a cross-board 25% nerf to the amount of mass you can get out of wrecks? I feel like it can be so hard in these team games to get ahead. You attack your opponent, and if you don't cripple them, you set yourself up for a disastrous counter-attack when they recycle all of your mass that's deposited on their doorstep. It's like something should be done to not tip the balance, but even things out slightly. But that Soul Ripper goes down to a ton of Restorer fire there from Laneless. He continues to press with his GC. And finally does kill off this forward position of Petric's there. It's a T3 Mex. He won't be happy about losing. Laneless 227 mass income, Le Pen 282, Lexstock 206, and that's everybody above 200. All three belong to Team 2. Eco-wise, Team 2 definitely having the better of this one so far. But that's Scathis causing problems for Lexstock. I'm surprised he's still got all of this in play, to be honest. It's taken quite a lot of fire, looking a lot more sparsely populated with buildings than it was 5 minutes ago. You can see that Scath is being moved out there, and there's something wrong, I think, with that graphic. Definitely shouldn't have its whatever spindles splayed out like that when it's firing. So it needs to fix that. See, Mr. Smith's doing exactly the same, behaving in the same way. Actually, no, maybe not. No, that's correctly angled. But once again, Kircher decides he needs to move it, and it's not that's not a bad decision, sorry, because that's now coming under heavy bombardment from the opposition Scathis. He's lost a quarter of the HP already, and Petric corners the ball of Restorers. Also brings up a crab to meet that Colossus and finally finish it off. And it looks like Laneless might be about to lose his ball of Restorers, which have actually caused a lot of problems for Team 1 over the course of this one so far. So Petric doing a nice job in the sky. Also stockpiling Revenants back here, strap bombers. Mr. Smith and Le Pen working on air as well now. Could cause problems ultimately for Team 1 if Team 2 all decide to start pushing air at the same time. That Scath is still alive for Kircher, bringing it forward. And once again, he can get it firing. It's amazing that neither one of these teams has managed to take out their opponent's Scathis yet. But I've got to say, that's quite a precarious position for Team 1. He'll be firing back on Team 2's conversely, but look at the amount of shielding around Lexstock's base compared to what's left in Deponi's. They're having to supplement it with parashields, and that's not going to last long. But look at that, Kircher beams in. Oh my god! Kircher beams in, and Mr. Smith, of course equipped earlier with the telemaser, takes him out, and they both die together in the ensuing blaze, but that means that, of course, Team 2 lose their Scathis, but at the same time, the fire breaks through on Team 1's Scathis, so both teams lose their Scathis. Both teams lose a player. Actually, of course, the Scathis, what I'm talking about, the Scathis belonged to Coacher as well. So, unbelievable. Very, very amusing turn of events. The two guys who both went Telemazer and both had Scathis ended up killing each other off when Coacher teleported in. I guess he saw an opening because Lextok was right next to Mr. Smith as well. He thought maybe he could bag 2 ACUs for the price of 1, which really would have turned this game on its head and put Team 2 well onto the back foot. But instead, a rather laughable outcome, I think you'll all agree. And now, massive gaps in the line. You can see Le Pen pushing up towards the east of the map. He's got a ton of bricks. He's got a crab back here as well. Chosen trying to screen a little bit with some restorers, but he's going to need more than that, I think, especially with the amount of bangers that's accompanying that little land force. Over here in the west, a megalith advances, this time for Petrick. And it's going to be Lextok who's going to get
strategic launch
up a
detected.
little bit. But look at that, nuclear point defense, eat your heart out. The only problem is I think he's missed. A few ambassadors come in from Lextok. He manages to take a few hit points off. It's going to be close. Oh, he's going to get nicked. And when you get nicked by a nuclear warhead, it basically almost kills you. But he's still alive with a chunk of about 14,000 hit points left on that experimental. Support commanders coming out for Chosen and Depony, recycling, reclaiming everything as quickly as they can. Only problem is there are bricks inbound. Depony dispatches his fat boy to the eastern edge of his base to start putting some fire on it. A wave of ASFs engage these restorers from Le Pen. The only problem is Petrick is well ready for them. He comes in with his own ASFs and then a mighty air battle ensues, which Petrick definitively wins, I think. Decides not to chase. Interesting decision. He could have kicked the ever-living crap out of that band of ASFs. Angus decides to come in with his own. I think that might have been a delayed misclick. He really should be going back home with those. Those Revenants we saw earlier from Petrick doing a nice job in conjunction with those restorers from Chosen at thinning out those bricks. But this crab is the main threat to Team 1 at the moment. Chosen brings forward a GC. There's a lot of shielding in Depony's base though. And that is going to be a dead crab. And yet more mass, of course, on the field for Team 1 to recycle. And another Scathis operational, this time for Depony. Of course, that mass, that previous Scathis was sitting right on his doorstep, and he's even creating a little shielded highway for it. He knows he's got to get it closer towards Team 2's base if he wants to cause real damage. And there's also another Scathis on the field, this time for Laneless, but the shields buckle under the initial Scathis bombardment from Depony, and now Lextok needs to be really careful he doesn't take one too many shells. And there's also T3 artillery inbound from Team 1. Lextok looking very peaky indeed. 5,000 hit points on the clock, goes down into the red. 2,000 hit points, and then the final shell comes in. He goes critical, and another Scathis will be down, but another... No, it's not. It's alive. 2,900 hit points left, but a second Scathis emerges, this time from Le Pen. Scathis is turning up all over the place in this one as Lextok's stuff goes boom, and suddenly Team 1 way out in front. I actually can't believe it. They're going to have to get shielding up in this area quick. They need to protect these 2 artillery pieces because they're facing a T3 and a Scathis from up here. Deponi is building another T3 over here. A Duke who's actually got the T3. There's another Scathis on the way from Petrick. Where's that other T3 emplacement? There it is. Chosen has got his T3 emplacement online. So this has been... I honestly, I haven't seen an arty slinging fest like this since one of my old games with my pals, and I'm loving it because it used to be you did something like this, you were a noob back in the old days because it cost too much mass. But now pros are realizing with the changes that have been made in the recent patches that you can do this, you can build these weapons again, and you can do it without crippling yourself to do so. So it now no longer makes sense to completely avoid them. If a game goes on this long and you're well turtled in and you've got your teammates all around you, you can attempt the weapons of mass destruction, and we're very pleased that you can. A whole bunch of build capacity parked up in the middle for Le Pen. It's alright, I didn't want those anywhere anyway, we hear in whisper. But my god, the amount of artillery fire going back and forth in this one. But Petrick trying a little bit of a push over here in the east. He's got a couple of megaliths, one of them looking very peaky. That was the one that took the nuke earlier, but it's still going. And he's got a ton of bricks as well, with just the one bang of those, so looking a little bit vulnerable potentially to restorers if Team 2 had any, which I really don't think they do anymore. I think that was beaten up in the last few fights. Petrick doing a nice job for Team 1 covering the airplay, and I can't believe how much this has been turned around. It really did look like Team 1 were done. And that forward Scathis for Deponi must have been taken out. It must have been, thanks to this constant stream of fire coming in from those opposing two Scathis. It's just that one left there from Petrick, and there's a Tsar being constructed there from Chosen in the mountainside. It's looking like Tony Stark's home, just on the edge of the cliff there. Some special design work going on there from Chosen, always nice to see. But Petrick still looking incredibly dominant in the sky. And of course, that T3 RT emplacement able to go right the length of this map. So this little power grid that was previously safe, all of these buildings back here which was safe more or less from potential Scathis fire for Le Pen, are now in danger. And the forward Scathis for Laneless needs to back up, or he's not going to live to see another day. This replay, or this cast, wins the award for the most times saying Scathis in a single game. But that Tsar finished incredibly quickly, and this is not good for Team 2. Definitely not good for Team 2. There is not enough air cover on the ground. Team 1 looking very strong in the air indeed. There's not enough air cover on the ground, not enough air cover in the air. And as that Tsar comes over, where is Laneless's comm? He's down here. GC just strolling in boldly from Chosen, trying to get to Laneless's comm. It's going to be close. But as he gets into range of the eruptors, he gets incinerated. But the Tsar comes overhead, and there'll be no such luck for Laneless on this front. Boom, baby. Laneless gets ejected at the 59-minute mark. Does manage to get off a nuke, and that will at least make it across the map. Whether or not it gets shot down or not, I don't know. But nukes do not get destructed as other buildings and units do in this game. They will make it to their target at least, but be very surprised if it gets any traction. Indeed it doesn't. Petrick waiting there with the Guardian, shoots it out of the sky, and that is going to be game for Team 1. Magnificent turnaround. Outrageous amounts of artillery. Tons of experimentals. Petrick moves in with his crabs and Soul Ripper. Where is Le Pen's ACU? Right in the middle there. No, that was Support Commander. His ACU had already been popped. Ah! He telemasored. Telemasored to end the game. Very, very amusing stuff. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. 1 hour, 30 seconds. So literally on just over the cusp of epicosity. Just. Hope you enjoyed that anyway, guys. As always, more to come from me in the future. In the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle, signing out.